Good morning and welcome students and learners to the today's session of marketing management. We pick up from where we had left yesterday. Today we cover a few more topics, just an overview again, not detailed. To begin with, we take up consumer behavior. All of us are consumers. All we, our friends, family, neighbors, all make purchases. So, why it is that each one of us has a different preference while buying a product or availing a service? So, you find that one of us is unique in many ways, and this uniqueness is reflected in the way we make our purchases. If we have to define, we can define it as those acts of the individuals here means consumers, which are directly involved in obtaining, using, and disposing of economic goods and services, including the decision processes that precede and determine these acts. To elaborate a little, what is economic goods? And not then only goods, something we pay for. It may not be that discernible and analyzed while we are getting a service or a good, for which we don't have to pay. But when we have to pay for it, our actions are slightly different. And it will also include all that goes on, all the steps involved before we make a decision to buy a particular product, and what happens subsequent to that after we have bought it. All these acts are part of the consumer behavior. As an organization, if it happens to be a business organization, it is again similar in terms of the uniqueness that our organizations make the purchases, but the procedure involved, the preferences again differ. Of course, an individual buying something for himself has a different context in which he expresses his likes and dislikes, but he may be buying the same thing as an organizational buyer on behalf of the organization. Then he is guided by the policies and procedures laid down by the organization. For example, suppose a person wants to buy a laptop for his personal use. He is free to decide what storage capacity, what RAM, look, and other things about the laptop. But when suppose he's working as a purchase manager for an organization and buys the same thing for his organization, then his preferences are curtailed because of the laid down policies and procedures, rules and regulations of the organization for which he is working. Why it is important for the marketeers to understand the consumer behavior? So that a marketer needs to understand the consumer behavior so that he can determine his marketing strategy according to the preferences of the consumers. If he knows how a consumer is likely to react when an offering is made to him, he will be able to change his marketing strategy to match that. Because technology is changing very fast, so consumers' preferences and tastes also keep on changing. And in this changing environment, an understanding of the consumer behavior provides a very clear guideline, a clue to the marketer how to approach the buyer. Consumer behavior is not one-time thing, it is a process, continuous process, and actual is just one part of the process. There are many things which he goes through even before he actually makes the purchase. And post-purchase also, the way he disposes of the product will also be different for each individual. Understanding all these factors which go behind this will help the marketer. The marketer will never be absolutely accurate. He will never be able to totally understand how the consumer reacts, but he can have a fairly good idea, and to that extent, the risk associated with the marketing strategies will get reduced. That is what is useful for the. We had discussed, I think, earlier also the distinction between the buyer and consumer, but since we are talking of consumer behavior, so again, to repeat, buyer may be a person different from the actual consumer. He could be, the buyer and consumer could be the same. The person buys for himself, consumes himself, it is the same person. But most of the time, buyer may be different, like buyer, head of the family buys and family consumes, or in case the organizational context, the purchase department, purchase officer, purchase manager, they do the purchases for the organization, and the rest of the organization makes use of that. So, whom should you target? The repetition here is to be able to understand that as a marketeer, because of the preferences we are talking of, who should be target of your promotional advertising, publicity, or for in terms of study of no preferences. Safer thing is to focus on both, because both influence each other. Both buyer as well as consumer should be studied for determining your strategy. This model of consumer behavior, because it is expanded, it may not be very sharp image, but to get over this problem, we have gone this same thing we have repeated here. What is the consumer exposed to? He gets certain inputs from the market about the product, price of the product, place, channels of distribution, place where it is available, how it is promoted, advertised, publicized, and some other external influences from the macro environment, economic, technological, political, social. We have talked of that by talking of macro and micro environment. All these inputs come to the consumer, are processed in his mind. And the processing, because of the different personality characteristics, which include psychological, cultural, others, decision process for the same stimuli for each individual will be different. All this goes on in his mind. Inputs are received, processed in the mind of the consumer, and output comes by way of consumer's decision and follow-up action in terms of first thing he decides is what product to buy. Next step will be for that product, which brand to buy, then from whom, which dealer. Like say, suppose a person has to decide which particular decision to buy a product will be that TV has to be bought for the family. Then which particular brand of TV? There's so many choices are there in the market. Then having decided the brand, Next will be from which dealer? Dealer nearest to the house or a dealer little farther away, company showroom. Maybe one dealer offers EMI choice, consumer loan, another one doesn't offer. So depending upon the financial preferences, consumer may pick up either one who offers the EMI or the one who offers only cash down but offers a discount. Then the timing, when to buy. Maybe a person gets a promotion, he decides to buy to celebrate the promotion. Maybe it is festival time. Festival times people buy things. And how much to spend on that product? What will be the purchase amount? That will differ for each individual. Like TVs you get for, say, normal TV, 10,000 odd. High-end TVs, 1 lakh plus, maybe even more. Size, based on the size and the features involved. Smart TVs cost a little more. So all this comes as output. Input in terms of stimuli, processing in the mind of the consumer, and output by way of the decision to buy a product and the follow-up action taken by the consumer. What are all the factors which influence the consumer behavior? What all goes on in his mind? All these variables can be shortlisted. One is, what is personal motivation? What are his needs, attitude, values, personality characteristics, socio-economic and cultural background, age, gender, professional status. We discuss this in a little bit, not in detail, but just to give you an idea that all these factors simultaneously work in his mind, and combination of these factors taken together results in a distinct behavior of the consumer because of his own standard of judgment. Of course, there will be some similarities because of the similarities of all these factors which we have talked of, and same time there will be some differences also. That is why we have talked of no segmentation. In segmentation, we are looking for people with the similar preferences. What are all the psychological factors which go on in his mind? What he needs, we have talked of needs and wants, but motivates, the satisfied needs no longer motivate. Perception, attitude, learning process, personality characteristics. What is perception? We have talked of positioning of this thing. Positioning is, we have mentioned that what image is created about the product in the mind of the consumer. How do we perceive? Perception comes from the word perceive. Perceiving is how do we see the world around us. That is, all the inputs come from our 5 senses. Eyes, we see the certain stimuli which comes to us with by way of advertisement. We hear the jingles, we smell something, no mouth, we taste something, from the skin we get some inputs, and based on that, these will be interpreted by the individual, and further decision about the preferences as indicated by his purchase, the decision to purchase a particular product will be indicated, which is relevant for the marketeer. What happens in this case is that, with this reference of perception, is that if we have made up our mind to buy a, say, TV, then we suddenly start noticing the ads about the TVs in the different media more than what we were doing earlier. So this is what we refer to as the selective exposure. Selective distortion, we may already have some idea about how that particular brand or particular product is, and we try to distort the information in a way which reinforces what is already in our mind. That is why it is called selective distortion, because each individual distorts the information available to suit what matches his already thinking, which is already in his mind. So message being given through the media is same, but it is not received as it is by the individual, but twisted in different ways by different consumers. And the information received is retained selectively. Again, selected according to what reinforces our values and our decision already taken. Learning refers to the way we pick up the things, what we are exposed to during, say, as we come up in the family, school, college, office. We pick up certain things which become part of our learning experience, and we tend to behave according to that learned behavior. From the marketer's point of view, important thing is that a consumer can be made to learn certain things. So he should build up his marketing strategy, which will help. It is supposed to help, but it is basically to manage the way his learning process goes on. So make him learn that this particular good is good, marketer's good or that particular producer's good is good and worth patronizing. We should go for it. Beliefs is the way we think that the particular about a particular thing. It may be based on real facts or not necessarily. It may be just our thinking, a notion or an opinion we have about certain thing. Attitude is again enduring feeling, which based on which we evaluate and which shows our approach towards a particular idea or the object. So if for a marketer's point of view, if the product fits in well with the beliefs and attitudes of the buyer, then it is much easier to persuade him to buy that product. Personal factors in the life cycle stage, age, like say suppose one wants to buy a car, a young adult will think of how fast it goes, what is the pickup, or a more senior person will be thinking in terms of the average, how far it goes, not how fast it goes, what is the average it will give. So accordingly, each of these factors, gender, stage in family life cycle, your education level, occupation, income level, interests, opinions, everything has its impact. And they all work simultaneously. The more important thing is that they all work simultaneously. It's not in isolation. Social factors, the way we interact with our family, friends, leaders, that also affects our thinking. All these taken together as referred to as the reference groups. Reference groups, basic group is any two or more people who can interact together is a reference group. So our first reference group is normally a family. The second reference group may be friends. So they can be divided into primary group and the secondary groups. Primary group will be our family, friends, neighbors, colleagues in the office. Secondary, others other than these. Of course, more importance is given to the primary groups than to the secondary groups. While when we are trying to take a decision and we try to consult our reference groups, more importance is given to the advice given by the primary group than the advice given by the secondary group. Of course, from advertiser's point of view, the advertiser tries to make use of the celebrities, experts, and then sometimes it is a common man. That these are things are not meant for the rich and the famous only, but for common man, this is what is desirable. This is the way things are promoted. Of course, we can further divide it into formal and informal groups, friendship groups, work groups, consumer action groups. It is just in going into the details. And because of the time constraints, we will not be going into those details of these groups. Because one thing is important is that a person of whom he is a member tries to conform to the norms of that group. And within that group, there may be certain which are called opinion leaders, the one who lead the group and have their own opinions, and others normally are the receivers. Leaders will be one or maybe a couple of them, and most of them are the receivers, but they tend to follow the opinion given by the leaders. So if a marketeer can influence the opinion leader, it is much more easier to influence the group. Cultural factors, again, all the customs, traditions, the work patterns, knowledge levels, all these have become part of the cultural factors. Because of this culture, like an individual has a personality of its own, each group within the society develops a separate personality. That is why we call, in terms of, like you say, one broad distinction we make is North Indian, South Indian, then within Punjabi style of personality, more boisterous, happy-go-lucky, and living beyond means, that kind of traits. That is the impression. I won't say that is true, but that is the general impression. So each section of the society develops a personality of its own, and that helps the marketeer. Learning, again, that culture is formally learned, informally learned, and technically we are not going again into the details of this, but it's all part of the learning process. What have been the recent shifts in the culture in general? One thing is that most of us are now inclined to seek convenience. Our seniors, earlier generations have been doing a lot of labor and work in treasury, but with the technology, more and more labor-saving devices have been coming up. So buyers look for those labor and treasury-saving products. Education levels, literacy levels have gone up in general. People have, because of that, become more concerned about their physical appearance. And general materialism has become part of our behavior. We are more materialistic now than we used to be earlier. And the materialistic basically means is that tendency to buy things, hoarding things is much more now than it used to be in the earlier generations. Subculture, again, a subsect of the cultural group. Within the one cultural group, there may be certain subsets which have an independent identity of their own. Within overall, they may be conformed to the value of society in general, but they have their own rituals and beliefs and customs within that. Social class, within as we all know, the different social groups are there, and they are bound to remain. Whatever we will be talking in terms of the equality of this thing, fact is that in real life, inequality in social status is a fact, it remains. And accordingly, from the marketer's point of view, he has to take note of this distinction and accordingly target his buyers. What all goes into the decision-making process of a consumer? As we have mentioned earlier, the lot of stimuli which goes as input to the consumer. It is generally felt that human beings are rational, and based on the total information available, they make rational decisions in a conscious manner, in a way that what are all the alternatives available, they will evaluate them and then select what is the optimum for them, what is the best among them. But fact is that in the real life, a consumer may not be taking that rational process for in each case. There could be three different considerations. Like for things which are costly, involve a lot of risk, or to ones which he gives more personal importance, indicating his higher level of involvement, he spends more time. He tends to behave more rationally. Then there may be certain variants of the product available in which the differences are substantial, and certain others where the differences are minimal or minor, not substantial. Sometimes he may not be able to act rationally because of the time pressure, because he may go for something which is readily available because he needs it badly and cannot wait for the better option, better alternative. So because of these considerations, his buying behavior can be categorized into three categories. One is routinized response, where the degree of involvement is very low. So items which are frequently purchased and cost low, like say toiletries, general cosmetics, groceries, they are bought frequently, regularly, and overall cost is not very high. So the response of the consumer is become a routine. That is why we use the term routinized response behavior. Next step will be what we call the limited problem solving. When the consumer would like to spend more time, get additional information, analyze that, it will be for the products which are he is not familiar with or which are little more costly, on which he knows he is able to get the information about the differences between the different variants of the product. Extended problem solving is when he goes in for the much more detailed information gathering, analysis, and all. It may be when he goes for buying an absolutely new product, or he goes for buying a very costly, say, buying a car. When a consumer plans to buy a car, he may be in that extended problem solving mode. He will spend a lot of time and effort in deciding which particular car to buy, which brand, from which dealer, and all those steps which we had mentioned earlier. Of course, in these categories, there will be some overlap, depending upon the personal preferences and the income level, disposable income levels of the individuals. There may be some overlap. Like say extended problem solving, a normal middle class person may be buying a car once in 10 years, and a rich person may be changing his car every 2 years. Whenever the new model comes or some new brand is introduced, he may go for it. So that to that extent, there will be some overlap in that decision-making process. I hope this slide is more clear. The steps involved are recognizing the need. When the consumer recognizes that what does he need, what does he want, and based on that, he tries to gather the information. What are all the alternatives available? Detailed information about that, and then he tries to evaluate those alternatives. He tries to find out the plus and minus points of each alternative, and tries to pick up what is the best suitable for him. Now, the best suitable or optimum may differ for each individual for all the factors which you mentioned earlier. But each individual tends to do that. Then optimum option, then purchase decision is made based on that. Having purchased, then post-purchase behavior will also be different. That may depend upon what were the expectations to begin with. Same thing, the same slide we have put it in the words here. Of course, it may so happen that for the routine purchases, the step 2 and 3, information search and evaluation alternatives, may be skipped by the individual. In case of a family, there may be many people who are involved in the process of the purchase decision. They are categorized into six different categories. Influencers, the ones who provide the information and try to influence the decision to buy a product. Gatekeepers, those who, like a gatekeeper, tries to control the flow of information. They can control the flow of information about a product or service so that what goes to the other family members is influenced. They may restrict the flow. They may let only some information be available and not let all the information be available to the other family members. The one deciders who actually have the power to decide. They may do it unilaterally. They may do it in consultation with others of the family. They may be doing it jointly. Then, having decided, fourth category is buyers, those who actually buy. Family doesn't go to buy. Family decides. And the buyer may be head of the family or the lady who is in charge of the, say, kitchen and other things. She may be the one, the actual buyer. Preparers. Preparers basically is making a change into or preparing a product or transforming a product for actual consumption. Like housewife may be buying the groceries and prepares that as a family meal, which the family can consume. And then the last one is actual users, those who are the ones who make use of that or consume that. Now, in case of organizations, what do the organizations do? We have been talking of the individuals. Some steps are similar, some steps are little different, because what we had mentioned earlier, that an individual buying for himself has his personal likes and dislikes. But when he is buying for an organization, then he is guided by the policies, rules and regulations of the organization. So first step is saying need recognition, but in the second step, that need is described in detail. Details of that need will be given, like say, again, if you go for laptop, example of laptop, then how many laptops do we need? An individual consumer knows that he needs one for himself. But an organization may need that. At what level they will give? Will they give to every worker? Will they give to only middle management? Or they will give to only top management? Like that. How many will be needed? Description of that. Then the specifications. Laptop, what will be the specifications of that laptop? What SIM? What storage capacity? What kind of RAM? All those details will be gone into. Then of course, next stage will be which particular supplier. So we try to search different suppliers. As part of that, we may see proposals from so many different suppliers, giving them our specifications and asking for the quotes. Having received that, we evaluate those quotations, and we may pick up a one particular supplier who will supply to us. Then that particular order will be given order. Giving his specifications will be given to him. And after usage, then the performance may be reviewed. It may be reordered if so required. The order may be modified, or if it is not a happy experience, it can be decided to drop that supplier, go for a different supplier next time. What factors affect the organizational buying? I hope this slide is clear to you. Environmental factors, organizational factors, interpersonal and personal factors. They all become part of your environment. We have talked of that earlier. Economic, technological, this thing as part of environmental, organizational factors. What are the objectives of the organization? What policies and procedures it follows? What are the systems evolved? Then within that organization, within the different persons in the hierarchy, who exercises the authority, what is the interest level, and then the person who is vested with the authority, these personal factors also happen to have a play. Same thing we have repeated here in the slide. For ease of this thing, if that slide was not clear visibly, you see the same things here. So far we have been talking of the consumer behavior. How does the consumer behave about buying a product? And product here, of course, includes the services also. How do the producer decide about what to produce? We had mentioned our 4 P's, no? Product, price, promotion, and the place. So we go for the 1 P. What is a product? Something which is offered to the market, to a consumer, and satisfy his need or want. So a product from that point of view may include physical goods, services, experiences, different information, idea, all that become part of the product. Or services, of course, become a special type of products, and for them we have talked of 4 P's. For the services, it may be 7 P's. In addition to product, price, place, and promotion, other 3 P's are people, processes, and physical evidence. And customers will be evaluating the product based on the features of the product, quality of the product, and at what price it will be available. Important point to understand is that though a person is physically buying a product, but his interest is not in that physical product as such, but in the benefits that that product will provide him, the satisfaction or the utility which will be able to derive from that physical product. So we are offering a physical good or maybe a service, but what the consumer is acquiring is whatever utilities or benefits he will be acquiring from the product. So a product has physical characteristics as well as psychological characteristics. So how do the people will perceive the product is important for if we are when we are evaluating the actual characteristics of the product. So, to be able to decide what should be produced, a marketeer has to consider 5 different levels which the customer values. First is the core benefit which the customer is looking for. Like say you buy a mobile, what is the core factor? To be able to talk when on the move. That is the core benefit. Then next is the basic product. That core benefit turned into a product. Being able to talk while on the move is possible through a mobile. So mobile becomes the basic product that provides the core benefit of talking when mobile. Then expected is, now these days at least we expect that the mobile will have the MP3 with the music system. You will be able to log into music. Then you will be able to have the internet facility. You will be able to have a camera. These are the basic features. Like these are the basic features we expect now. They were not always there. So initial mobiles and the third mobiles, the set of attributes which we will expect in the product has changed. And that happens for most of the products. What we are looking for in a product keeps on changing. Augmented product is something which is there more than what the consumer expected, the customer expected. Like say customer expected a camera, but the marketer came up with was the dual camera, front camera as well as the back camera. That was augmentation of the product. Potential product, something which can happen in the future, which is possible, which changes are possible. Over a period of time, we find that mobiles are becoming a substitute for the even the laptop. All that you could do on the laptop, you cannot do on a high-end mobile also. And this is not the end. The potential to increase these features is still there. So that becomes the potential product. Products can be classified based on the durability. It may be, like durable and non-durable products. Tangible. Tangible is something which you can touch, hold. Like a physical product is a tangible thing, but a service doesn't have a tangibility. Like transportation, we use transportation as a service, but the service that we are availing is not touchable. Of course, the means of transport is touchable, but not the actual service. Based on the actual usage, we can further divide into say basic two categories: consumer products and the industrial products. Consumer products are most of the time which are bought by the ultimate consumer, final consumers, and no more processing is required. Whereas the industrial products are something which industries buy and they may be processing it further for bringing out the final consumer products. Based on the shopping habits, we can classify into the convenience goods, shopping goods, specialty goods, unsought goods. Shopping goods, general shopping, specialty goods, maybe certain luxuries, with a particular brand and all. Unsought goods, this is a term which is specific. Unsought goods are which are not normally sought by the customers, maybe because they are not aware, or maybe because they don't not normally think of buying those. Like say insurance. People do not go for buying insurance in the normal course. They may have to be persuaded to do that. It may be intense personal selling may be required. So this kind of things become unsought goods. Industrial goods could be divided into materials and parts, capital items, supplies and business services. Material parts are where the raw materials and some other parts which are manufactured and used by the industry. Capital items like the machinery, the capital machinery which is used for the making the capital final products, finished product. Supplies and business services, supplies of the raw materials and other business services which the industry needs for the converting the goods. When a marketer brings a product to the market, he tries to add a new dimension so that his product is different from the product of the competitor. He may do that by changing the form of the product, size, shape, color, features, attributes, performance levels, conforming to a certain category at certain level, durability of the product, increasing the reliability of the product, and if something goes wrong, if the product needs repair, then should be something which is easily repairable. Try to improve upon the design, try to improve upon the service, the ease of ordering the product, ease of delivery, installation, maintenance, post installation, repair, etc. All these become part of the considerations. Now, we have been talking of a product, but a company may be producing more than one products. Like say, in case of electronics, Apple or Samsung, they bring out a a number of smartphones, but some other companies like Samsung also, they are producing other electronic items also other than the smartphones also. So there may be what you call a product mix. I show you one. This is the thing. It is may not be very sharp because of the expansion. Company may be having different. Say here, what is being shown is that 4 different product lines. Taken together, these 4 product lines become what is called the product mix. And under each product line, there may be different products. How many items are there in that line refers to the depth of the line. Like say, you take the example of HUL, Hindustan Unilever Limited. It is into the soaps, it is into the cosmetics and beauty products, it is into other products also. So how many types of soaps are there in the product line 1? That means the depth of that particular line. All the 4 product lines taken together refer to the product mix. And all of this taken together refers to the product mix width. And it may be possible that within the same product line, there may be 2-3 different categories of products, type 1, type 2, type 3. So they taken together will be referred to as the product line length. You should not get confused. Product mix, to repeat the whole thing, different types of products. If the company is producing multiple products, for each product category is treated as a separate product line. How many variants of the product in that product line will be considered as the depth of that line. Product mix and product line all taken together is the product mix width. And within one product line, if there are more than one variants of the product, type 1, type 2, that will be taken as the product line length. Because the same thing is repeated here in the product system. When we talk about the product system, is that there is a product, a group of different products, but they are related. Like say if you buy a laptop or say a desktop, then what you need is maybe a mouse, keyboard, headset, a projector linked with that, voice recorder. They all together become a product system. Product mix, again, it is repeated here, but we see in the related. Like say if you buy a laptop, that assortment of the products which a particular seller or the producer offers. Like one example could be Dabur. Dabur is the master brand which offers basically healthcare products, but within that there are so many sub-brands under it. Now, when deciding a product line, what should be the consideration? Whether the product line should be long or short. Basically, product line becomes longer if you are trying to cater to different market segments, what we had done earlier. If you are trying to target more than one segment markets, then your product line is likely to be lengthened. So that will depend upon the viability of the product, whether it is profitable and whether the company has the resources for that. So a company may expand the product, it may add a new product line, it may deepen a product line, it may offer more of the variants of within the same product. Or a company may, if the company continues with the same product line, that is what is term that are used is product line consistency. The next stage which comes up in the product processing is branding and packaging the product. What is a brand? And how does it help? A brand helps the consumer easy recall, to be able to recall a product belonging to a particular marketeer, a particular producer, helps in selling those products readily. So that is why branding becomes important. Packaging is required for the protecting the product, and of course you can make it attractive enough so that it attracts the attention of the consumer. Because this was earlier with the international brands they were more particular about the branding and packaging, but now we are at a stage in India where India has its own important brands as well as the packaging range. What a brand is? The definition of brand is a word, a mark, a symbol, or a device, or a combination of all these word, mark, and symbol, which is used to identify a particular product or a service. So basic function of the brand is easy identification. Focus is on easy identification. Identification may be done by a word, by a mark, by a symbol, or a combination of all the three. Brand name is something about the brand which is represented consisting of a word, a letter, or a group of words or letters which together form a name. Again, the purpose is easy identification of the group and services of a seller or a particular group of sellers and differentiate them from the competitors. Like say ready-made clothing. You have some ready-made clothing which is available in the market without any brand name, some with a brand name, Allen Solly, Arrow, like that. Related to brand name is the brand mark. What is brand mark? Is a symbol which is used for the purpose of identification. It may be a logo, it may be a color scheme, it may be a picture, whatever makes it distinctive from that of the competition other than a name. Brand name and brand mark. Name is already there, we have talked of that. Then other than brand name is a brand mark. Name refers to the letters, words, or combination of them, and mark refers to the logo, color scheme, picture, things like that. The brand can be registered as a property right under the different acts of the laid down by the government. So a trademark, once it is registered, is a brand mark. Once it is registered, becomes a trademark. A trademark is the legalized version of a brand. When it is registered, then it is possible to take action against the person who tries to make use of that particular brand or name against the original owner, original seller. With respect to branding, the decisions to be taken include, first thing is selecting the brand, and even before that, it may be whether the product should be branded or not. And if you decide to brand, who should sponsor the brand? Like say, what is the advantage of a branded product? A branded product commands a higher price in the market. Like if, again, you should take the example of the clothing, ready-made clothing. A clothing which bears a particular brand commands a higher price than the ones which are there without the brand. Now, what kind of quality should be built into that? In terms of whether it should be the particular, depending on the product, the quality aspects of a particular product will vary. It will be different for different products. Another important decision with reference to branding will be whether the each product should be branded individually or it should be family branded. Like one example here is LIC, like Jeevan Bima, Life Insurance Corporation of India. They bring out different types of policies, but they all start with the name Jeevan. The logo is common, two hands protecting a flame, and names which are given to different types of policies are Jeevan Bima, Jeevan Shanti, Jeevan this. Everything is preceded by the word Jeevan. This is typical example of family branding. Individual is when each product is named individually. There are plus and minus points for both. When a family branding is used, that means that for each individual product, you need to spend less effort, less money, because that name is already recognized by the consumer. But it can help negatively also. If the consumers develop a negative image about this particular product, then the subsequent product coming against that under the same brand name will be viewed negatively by the consumer. And development of brand costs money. It comes up over a period of time. And during this period, it is necessary, it is required by the company to maintain the quality, the features, and consistently. Then only that brand is built up. It cannot, rather it should not happen that the brand is built up and over a period of time the manufacturer reduces the quality gradually. That will put the brand into disrepute. Of course, for the sellers, the advantage is like they can develop brand loyalty, and if the brand loyalty is developed, that means the consumers will do the repurchase of the product without much effort, and it costs much less money to have retaining consumer rather than adding a new consumer. So for that particular product, for that particular brand, it becomes a sort of semi-monopolistic or quasi-monopolistic situation. Society in general gains because for maintaining that brand's image, the producers are likely to maintain the quality level. Of course, the opposite view could be that brands result into the higher cost for the individuals, and therefore, because the higher costs are there, so the branded products normally cost more than the non-branded products. So consumer finally ends up paying more. All the cost which goes into developing the brand is finally recovered from the consumer only. So whether we should brand a product or not will have so many considerations. What are the advantages likely to be from branding? What are the estimated cost? What are the likely gains from that? All these considerations will have to be taken into account. Another issue in this regard is whether it should be a manufacturer's brand or it should be a private brand. You find these days, like say we have super bazaars, mother dairy, or say in the private private players are there into the grocery market, Bada Bazaar, Reliance. You find that the products which come from them, they put their own brand names on those. So this becomes a middleman's brand. The person who is an intermediary, acting as intermediary between the actual producer and the final consumer, is promoting that as his brand. Large chains and departmental stores do it. Of course, they try to gain advantage, by like if they have a positive image in the mind of the consumer, they tend to gain. Family branding is also known as the umbrella branding. We have discussed that, like LIC, we have taken the example of LIC. These are the advantages which we have. We have already talked about that. It's of the target audience. Extra costs are not there. negative parts, that it may have a disadvantage also, because one product is having a negative impact, it may affect all the other products in the same category. So what the companies try to do is that they modify the whole thing. A firm may take different brands, but overall common name is given. Like say, in the case of Tata's, there are different products, each has a different name, different category, but the term Tata product, it's a Tata product because Tata product normally inspires trust, is taken as reliable by the market. So the word Tata product is normally added on to that. Brand name when taken should be easy to pronounce, easy to remember, and it should be possible to legally protect it. We are running out of time. We'll pick up from here in the next session and go ahead with the sessions. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have gained from this today's session, and our next sessions will be equally productive. Thank you all.